that is, swimming pools, movie stars.
You remember the oil. That one lucky shot in the ground? That changed everything. Jed Clampett was just trying to hunt. Then suddenly up came bubbling crude. Oil, that is. Black gold. Texas tea. And just like that, one poor mountain family became millionaires. They loaded up the truck, moved to Beverly Hills, and American television got one of its strangest dreams. A cabin family, inside a mansion. A shotgun, beside a swimming pool. Granny's medicine, inside a millionaire's neighborhood. Ellie May with her animals, Jethro with his wild confidence, and Jed standing in the middle of it all. Quiet, decent, and completely out of place. The Beverly Hillbillies looked like the funniest rags-to-riches story on classic American TV. But 64 years later, the Beverly Hillbillies cast then and now story feels much darker.
Ellie May came running over to my place and she said you sold the swamp to some oil company.
Because the show was about people who struck oil, but the real cast discovered something fame could not buy. It could not buy protection. It could not buy peace. It could not stop illness. It could not stop typecasting. And it could not stop time. Buddy Ebsen is gone. Irene Ryan is gone. Donna Douglas is gone. Raymond Bailey is gone. Nancy Kulp is gone. B. Benaderet is gone. Harriet MacGibbon is gone. And now only one main Clampett regular is still alive. Max Baer Jr. Jethro Bodine. The boy who wanted to be everything is now the last living face from the main family millions still remember. This is the Beverly Hillbillies cast then and now 2026. And the real question is not just who's still alive after 64 years. The real question is, what happened after the oil stopped flowing?
Well, he said it depends some on how much oil he could pump out.
Before we begin, if you grew up with the Beverly Hillbillies, Green Acres, Petticoat Junction, Happy Days, Get Smart, Gunsmoke, or any of those vintage TV shows that still feel like home, subscribe now. Because this channel is not just about old TV memories. It is about the real lives, behind the shows America never forgot. Now listen to a story about a man named Jed. Buddy Ebsen, Jed Clampett. The thin body, the slow voice, the calm eyes. The man who could stand inside a mansion and still look like he belonged near a dirt road. Jed was the heart of the show. Not because he was the loudest, not because he was the funniest, but because he was the moral center. Everyone around him could panic. Granny could explode. Jethro could brag. Ellie May could wrestle with animals. Mr. Drysdale could chase money like his life depended on it.
Howdy there. You need money? Well, come right on over and get it.
But Jed stayed steady. The audience believed Buddy Ebsen was simply playing an old country millionaire. But the opposite truth is this. Buddy Ebsen had already lived through one of Hollywood's strangest near tragedies long before the Beverly Hillbillies made him a television legend. He was originally cast as the Tin Man in The Wizard of Oz. That should have made him immortal in a completely different way. But the aluminum makeup nearly destroyed him. He became seriously ill. He could barely breathe. He had to leave the movie. Another actor took the role. And Buddy Ebsen watched one of Hollywood's most famous films move on without him. That is the first hidden shock. Before he ever became Jed Clampett, Buddy Ebsen lost a role that could have defined him forever.
And then they go up, and the Ferris wheel goes up, and then they start coming down, and then...
But life gave him another one. And when the Beverly Hillbillies arrived in 1962, America found him again. Not as the Tin Man. As Jed, the man who became rich, but never stopped sounding poor in the best way. Jed did not worship money. That was the joke. Everyone in Beverly Hills treated wealth like a religion. Jed treated it like an inconvenience. He had millions in the bank but still acted like common sense was worth more. That is why older American viewers loved him. He represented something people missed. Simple manners, plain talk. Family loyalty. A kind of decency that did not need a suit. But here's the painful part. Buddy Ebsen did not stop with Jed.
Well, hadn't ought to take long. She's got him boarding in your room now where she can get at him.
After the Beverly Hillbillies ended, he became Barnaby Jones and proved he could lead another hit show. That was rare. Many sitcom stars are trapped forever. Ebsen escaped once, maybe twice. But even a man who survived Hollywood rejection, a failed Tin Man role, typecasting, and decades in show business could not escape the final ending. Buddy Ebsen died in 2003 at age 95 from respiratory failure. 95 sounds like a long life. And it was. But when you watch Jed now, it still feels like a loss. Because Jed Clampett is still standing in the mansion, still looking confused by rich people, still trying to keep the family together, still reminding America that money does not make a man better. Only time makes the truth clearer. And the truth is, the richest man on the show is now gone.
These your cookies, Pearl, that I found in my kitchen?
Yeah, Granny, are you good?
Then there was Granny. Irene Ryan. Small body, sharp voice, wild energy, a face that looked like it had seen everything and trusted almost none of it. Granny was not just old. Granny was a force. She could argue with doctors, threaten bankers, make medicine out of almost anything. And look at Beverly Hills like the whole place needed a good scrubbing. You remember her storming through the mansion, ready to fight modern life with mountain logic. The audience believed Irene Ryan was really an old mountain woman. But the opposite truth is this. She was a skilled performer with decades behind her. Vaudeville, radio, film, television, comedy, timing. She was not Granny by accident. She built Granny. Every squint, every snap, every angry little step, every wild line reading.
Down with pneumonia.
That performance was precision hidden inside chaos. And it worked so well that many people forgot something important. Irene Ryan was not actually as old as Granny looked. Makeup, posture, voice, and performance transformed her. That is acting. Real acting. But her ending came too soon. After the Beverly Hillbillies, Irene Ryan went to Broadway. She appeared in Pippin. She even earned a Tony nomination. Think about that. The woman America knew as Granny stepped onto a Broadway stage and proved she was more than a hillbilly stereotype. But during that period, her health collapsed. She suffered a stroke during a performance and was later diagnosed with a malignant brain tumor. Irene Ryan died in 1973, at age 70.
Coming to court you and spark you. What does that mean?
Only 2 years after the Beverly Hillbillies ended. That is what makes her story hit so hard. Granny felt indestructible. She seemed like she could outlive the mansion, outfight the doctors, out-argue the bankers, and outlast every fool in Beverly Hills. But Irene Ryan was gone before many fans were ready to let Granny go. Now her scenes feel different. Every time she snaps at someone, every time she waves off modern medicine, every time she acts like nothing can take her down, there is a sadness underneath because time did. Then came Ellie May. Donna Douglas. The beauty, the innocence, the animals, the blonde hair, the country sweetness that made Beverly Hills look artificial. Ellie May was one of the most memorable women in 1960s TV shows. She could look like a beauty queen, then throw a man over her shoulder.
All right, I'll go get the other scene.
Oh, no, outdoors with...
She loved critters more than society. She did not belong in fancy rooms, because she had something those rooms did not. Natural life. You remember her with the animals, the chimp, the dogs, the raccoons, the wild confidence of a girl who never needed Beverly Hills to tell her she mattered. The audience believed Donna Douglas was simply playing a pretty hillbilly girl. But the opposite truth is this. Donna Douglas became trapped by how perfectly she played Ellie May. That is the danger of an iconic role. If the audience believes you too much, Hollywood sometimes stops seeing the actor. It only sees the character. Donna Douglas did continue working. She appeared in other projects. She later became a gospel singer an inspirational speaker, a real estate agent, and an author. But for millions, she remained Ellie May.
Howdy, Paul. What you doing?
Oh, I'm fixing some turkey stickers.
Girl with the animals, the sweet country daughter, the face of innocence inside one of America's biggest sitcoms. And maybe she made peace with that better than most. She leaned into faith. She met fans. She carried the character with warmth. But her ending still hurt. Donna Douglas died on January 1st, 2015 at age 82 from pancreatic cancer. New Year's Day. A date that is supposed to mean beginnings. For Beverly Hillbillies fans, it became an ending. And after Donna Douglas died, something changed. Max Baer Jr. became the last surviving regular from the main cast. Jethro was the last one standing. That brings us to him. Max Baer Jr. Jethro Bodine. The big grin. The enormous appetite. The wild plans. The confidence of a man who thought 6th grade education made him ready for every job in America.
Now, ain't that nice? Looks like you two ain't gonna fight no more.
Oh, shucks.
Jethro wanted to be everything. A brain surgeon. A spy. A Hollywood producer. A double-knot spy. A millionaire playboy. Whatever sounded important that week, Jethro believed he could do it. That was the joke. But the actor behind him had a much more complicated road. The audience believed Max Baer Jr. was just the dumb nephew. But the opposite truth is this. He came from a famous family before the Beverly Hillbillies. His father was Max Baer, the heavyweight boxing champion. That means Max Baer Jr. was born near fame, then became famous for playing someone people underestimated.
Hot diggity dog days at it again.
Jethro, you and your ma take the sign.
And that role followed him for the rest of his life. After the Beverly Hillbillies, Baer struggled to escape Jethro. Hollywood saw the grin, the accent, the big comic body, the same character again and again. So he moved behind the scenes. He wrote, produced, directed, built business ideas. He turned toward entrepreneurship, including Beverly Hillbillies themed ventures. That is the strange twist. The actor who played the boy always dreaming of big schemes became a man trying to build big schemes in real life. But here is why his story matters most now. In 2026, Max Baer Jr. is still here. He is the last surviving main Clampett regular. The last direct living link to the mansion. The last one who can say what it felt like to sit inside that cultural explosion when the Beverly Hillbillies was one of the biggest shows in America. That gives Jethro a new meaning.
Take it out to the gate.
Okay, Ma.
In reruns, he is still foolish, still loud, still young, still chasing impossible dreams. But in real life, he became the keeper of the memory. The final witness. The last man at the oil well. And that is haunting. Because Jethro was never supposed to be the serious one, but time made him serious. Time made him the last. Then there was the banker. Raymond Bailey. Milburn Drysdale. The man who loved the Clampetts' money more than almost anything on earth. You remember him panicking, sweating, scheming, trying to keep Jed's millions in his bank, trying to please the Clampetts, while also using them. Mr. Drysdale was Beverly Hills greed in a suit. He was the opposite of Jed. Jed had money but did not worship it. Drysdale worshipped money, and never had enough emotional sense to hide it.
Our love together.
The audience believed Raymond Bailey was just the greedy banker. But the opposite truth is this. He gave the show one of its strongest social jokes. The poor family had dignity. The rich banker had desperation. That flipped the American dream upside down. The Clampetts were supposed to be the unsophisticated ones. But many times they were the only ones with values. Drysdale looked educated, polished, professional, but next to Jed he often looked small. That was the hidden genius of the Beverly Hillbillies. It pretended to laugh at country people, while quietly exposing rich people. Raymond Bailey made that work. But his later years were painful. He developed Alzheimer's disease. His health declined. He died in 1980 at age 75.
Black one. And before you measure my head by ear, my size is 7 1/8.
And once you know that, Mr. Drysdale's frantic scenes feel different. The man who spent the show chasing control lost control in real life. The banker who watched every dollar could not hold on to memory. That is a cruel ending for a character built around calculation. Then came Miss Jane Hathaway. Nancy Kulp, tall, formal, serious, loyal, awkward, one of the smartest people in the room, and somehow one of the loneliest. Miss Jane worked for Mr. Drysdale, but emotionally she often seemed closer to the Clampetts. She admired Jed. She tolerated Jethro. She tried to keep the bank from completely embarrassing itself. And she brought a strange elegance to the chaos. The audience believed Nancy Kulp was simply the stiff secretary. But the opposite truth is this. She was one of the sharpest comic performers on the show.
To the sound of these balcony tickets hitting the floor.
Her comedy was not loud. It was controlled. A look, a pause, a posture, a tone. She could make discomfort funny without begging for attention. After the show, Nancy Kulp continued acting. Then she did something many sitcom actors never do. She entered politics. She ran for Congress in Pennsylvania in 1984. Think about that. Miss Jane Hathaway, the nervous bank secretary from a classic sitcom, stepped into the real public arena. Not a script, not a laugh track, not a safe ending, a campaign, a fight, a different kind of stage. She did not win. Later, she taught acting. She lived a life beyond the mansion, but not without struggle. Nancy Kulp died in 1991 at age 69 from cancer. Miss Jane is gone now. But her character still feels quietly important.
You want to see what just flew over Blueberry Ridge? What? The dad-blamedest biggest bird?
Because she was surrounded by men chasing money, status, control, and attention. Yet she often seemed like the only person in Beverly Hills with actual self-awareness. She was awkward, but not empty. Lonely, but not foolish. And that made her unforgettable. Then there was Cousin Pearl. B. Benaderet. Pearl Bodine. Jethro's mother. The woman who helped push the Clampetts toward Beverly Hills. She was not in every season the way others were, but her presence mattered. Because B. Benaderet was already a powerful voice in American television. She had a long career in radio and animation. She became part of the Beverly Hillbillies world, then became even more connected to Paul Henning's TV universe through Petticoat Junction. The audience may remember Pearl as a supporting character.
Where we can be alone and faith.
But the opposite truth is this. B. Benaderet was one of the great working women of classic American comedy. Her voice, her timing, her experience. She was part of the foundation of television comedy before many viewers even knew her name. But she died in 1968 at only 62 from lung cancer. That means she was gone while the Beverly Hillbillies was still airing. That kind of loss is different. Some cast members died years after the mansion closed. B. Benaderet disappeared while the world of those shows was still alive. And if you know classic TV, you know how much she mattered. She was not just Cousin Pearl. She was part of the architecture, part of the sound, part of the era. Then there was Mrs. Drysdale, Harriet MacGibbon. Margaret Drysdale, the banker's wife.
They've got me so depressed. I just had to call and talk to my darling.
The social climber. The woman who looked at the Clampetts like they were an emergency happening in slow motion. Mrs. Drysdale represented Beverly Hills' embarrassment. She could not stand the Clampetts, not because they were cruel, not because they were dangerous, but because they ruined the image she wanted. That was the joke. The Clampetts had money, but they did not have the manners Beverly Hills respected. Mrs. Drysdale had manners, but not much kindness. The audience believed Harriet MacGibbon was just playing a snob. But the opposite truth is this. A good snob is hard to play. Too mean, and the audience hates her. Too silly, and the joke disappears. Harriet MacGibbon made Mrs. Drysdale ridiculous but recognizable. Every neighborhood has someone like her. Someone more worried about appearances than people. Someone who thinks class is something you can buy. She died in 1987 at age 81.
They're holding a beauty contest at the Springs this week, and someone in this...
And now Mrs. Drysdale feels like another piece of the Beverly Hills world that is gone. The mansion is still there in memory, but the people who filled it slowly vanished. That is what makes this show so strange in 2026. The Beverly Hillbillies was built on a fantasy of sudden wealth. What if poor people became rich overnight? What if the simple family entered the richest neighborhood? What if common sense walked into high society and made high society look foolish? America loved that. Because deep down, the Beverly Hillbillies was not only about money. It was about class. It was about who gets called smart, who gets called ignorant, who gets laughed at, and who actually understands what matters.
If you don't learn to share, go on.
The Clampetts were mocked by Beverly Hills. But the joke was often on Beverly Hills. Jed had wisdom, Granny had toughness, Ellie May had innocence, Jethro had dreams. The banker had greed, the neighbors had judgment. That is why the show worked. It looked like a hillbilly comedy. But underneath it was a comedy about America's obsession with wealth. And now, after all these years, the oil well feels like a symbol. At first, the oil meant luck, a miracle, a ticket to a new life. But in the real cast story, the oil becomes something else. Fame, it rises fast. It changes everything. It makes people look at you differently. It can move you into rooms you never expected. But it can also trap you. Buddy Ebsen became Jed. Irene Ryan became Granny. Donna Douglas became Ellie May.
That thou, her maid, are far more fair than she.
Max Baer Jr. became Jethro. Those names were gifts. And cages. Because once America loves you in one role, it does not always let you leave. That is the price of being part of a beloved classic TV show. The audience gets comfort. The actor gets remembered. But sometimes being remembered too clearly means being seen too narrowly. Now look at where they are today. Buddy Ebsen, gone. Irene Ryan, gone. Donna Douglas, gone. Raymond Bailey, gone. Nancy Kulp, gone. B. Benaderet, gone too soon. Harriet MacGibbon, gone. But Max Baer Jr. still here. The last Jethro. The last main Clampett regular. The last living piece of a television family that once made America laugh harder than critics ever expected.
That way it's first come, first served, and won't be nobody trampling the rush.
And that is the final. The show was about a family that became rich overnight. But today, the most valuable thing left is not oil. It is memory. The sound of the banjo, the sight of the truck. Granny shouting. Ellie May smiling with her animals. Jethro planning his next ridiculous career. Jed trying to make sense of rich people. Drysdale protecting the bank account. Miss Jane trying to keep order. Mrs. Drysdale looking horrified. That whole world still exists, but only on screen. In reruns. In old TV memories. In the hearts of people who remember watching with parents, grandparents, siblings, or alone in a living room that may not exist anymore. That is why vintage TV shows hurt more with age. At first, they are just funny. Then years pass. The actors die. The viewers lose people too. And suddenly, a simple theme song becomes a doorway.
I just want to say that Granny'd appreciate it if you'd have this little fella sleep with his own family.
Not just back to Beverly Hills. Back to your own past. Back to the couch. Back to the old house. Back to the person who used to laugh beside you. That is the hidden power of the Beverly Hillbillies. It was never only about Jed striking oil. It was about America striking memory. A memory of simple people entering a complicated world. A memory of family before image. A memory of laughter before everything became faster, colder, and harder to trust. So the next time you hear that opening line, come and listen to a story about a man named Jed. Listen differently. Do not just hear the joke. Hear the names. Buddy Ebsen, the man who lost The Wizard of Oz, then found television immortality. Irene Ryan, the woman who made Granny feel indestructible, then left too soon.
Take Duke for a nice long walk so his Aunt Pearl's yodeling wouldn't hurt his ears.
Donna Douglas, the beauty who became Ellie May forever. Max Baer Jr., the last surviving main regular, still carrying the mansion's memory. Raymond Bailey, the banker who made greed funny. Nancy Kulp, the quiet genius who stepped into politics. B. Benaderet, the classic comedy voice gone too soon. And all the others who made Beverly Hills feel strange, funny, and unforgettable. The oil still bubbles in the theme song. The truck still rolls toward California. The mansion doors still open. The Clampetts still walk in with no idea how much America is about to love them. And for one episode, everyone is alive again. That is the strange mercy of television. It cannot stop time. It cannot bring back the cast. It cannot make the oil flow forever.
It's a powerful combination. Pearl cooking and singing.
Yeah.
But it can keep the first discovery alive, the moment before everything changed. Drop a comment. Which Beverly Hillbillies cast member's story hit you the hardest? Was it Buddy Ebsen, the man who survived Hollywood disappointment and became Jed? Irene Ryan, the granny America thought could never be stopped? Donna Douglas, the Ellie May fans never forgot? Max Baer Jr., the last surviving main cast member? Raymond Bailey, the banker whose real ending was far more painful than the jokes? Or Nancy Kulp, Miss Jane, the quiet woman who built a life beyond the bank? And if you grew up with the Beverly Hillbillies, Petticoat Junction, Green Acres, Happy Days, Get Smart, or any classic American TV show from television's golden years, subscribe. Because the next Cast Then and Now story goes even deeper into the stars America loved and the real lives fame could not protect. Be honest, when you hear that banjo now, does it still sound like a funny song about striking oil? Or does it sound like the last echo of a family time slowly took away?